Hey traders, welcome back. I'm Kenya with BK Trading Academy, where we help new and struggling traders learn how to trade with structure and guidance so that you guys start the right way, you have a breakthrough, and trade confidently. And in today's video, I'm giving you 3 tips to better scalping results. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Do me a favor and smash that like button, and let's get right into it. All right, guys, so tip number 1, when you are scalping, the very first thing you want to do is always prepare in advance. So I like to look at the daily chart, sometimes the weekly chart, because I also do short-term swing trading. But in terms of scalping, I basically want to know before I go into a session, I trade the New York session. So I want to know, for example, the night before, what is the market doing? What has it been doing? What trend is it in? And from my experience, I've found that it's safer to trade with the daily trend if you want to minimize your losses. So when you prepare in advance, a few things you want to do is go to your chart. For example, you're going to look at the daily time frame. And if I simply were to look at CHFJPY, I'm simply going to ask myself, what trend is this in? Is it upward? Is it downward? Or is it sideways? Those are the only 3 options, right? That's how the market moves. So clearly, one of the things that I see is that the market is giving us lower highs and lower lows. So here we kind of move sideways a little bit, right? We moved sideways, we broke lower, we came back, we pushed higher. So, but now we clearly see we have a high, we have a low, we have a high, and we haven't gotten a new low just yet, but I do see this massive impulse candle, and this was from High Impact News. It's also a bearish engulfing, and the price action is now bearish. So considering that, I'm going to be looking for a bearish opportunity, especially also because after this impulse, I know that we need a correction, which we did get that correction. So if, for example, let's say that the price had dropped here and then it has started correcting, where should I sell from? Well, anytime you see an impulse, you want to see a correction. So I would have taken, for example, my Fibonacci tool, measured from the high of this impulse candle to the low and look for that corrective structure. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, but you need to be prepared. So notice how I'm going through all of this and I'm really just saying out loud what I see. I see a downtrend. I see price making lower highs and lower lows. I see an impulse wave on the daily. So I know that that market is going to have to correct in order to bring sellers, fresh sellers, back to the market. So I'm going to look at this. I'm also going to look at my economic calendar and I'm going to see what news is ahead. Is there a major news announcement the next day when I'm trading? Because I don't want my trade to be thrown off by high impact news. Either I'm going to trade with that news based on my fundamental understanding of what I think could happen, or I'm going to sit on the sidelines and not do anything and just watch. You can also trade during high impact news, but I would recommend always using a hard stop loss because there's usually a lot of volatility, a lot of movement in the market during high impact news, and you don't want to be thrown off track, okay? Been there, done that, where early in my career, I was trading, didn't know much about fundamentals. I was in a trade with no stop loss and nearly blew my account. So don't do that, okay? You don't want to do that. So number 1 is always be prepared. Know what high impact news is ahead of you. Know what the trend is. So I recommend trading with the daily trend. So if you trade with the daily trend, you're just going to be a lot more safer because if you are trading on that daily time frame, sometimes your trade may need a little bit more time to play out if there's not a lot of volatility, or you'll find you get into a scalping position. Comment below if this has happened to you before, but you get into a scalp position and it takes a little bit longer than you expected, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect to be in this trade for, an hour or 2 hours. So it's up to you if you want to cut a small loss, but if you are trading with the overall trend, sometimes that trade just might need a little bit longer to play out, but just understand that at that point, you might be crossing over into intraday. And if that's your trading style, that's okay. But if you're strictly a scalper, you should probably close that small loss and just wait for another opportunity. Tip number 2 is to trade with the trend. Always know where you want to trade from and make sure you have volatility. So as a scalper, it's really important that you have volatility in the market. So if you don't want to get stuck in trades, you want to make sure that either there's some type of breakout or you see just volume increasing where there's a lot of buyers and sellers in the market. So number one, you prepared in advance, right? You know the directional movement of the market. You know where you want to trade from. Number two is you want to trade with the trend and you want to have volatility. So in this case, I know that the trend is downward. I'm going to find my levels to trade from. So this would be an area that I would have watched for a reversal area, for example. After this impulse, I know that we need some type of correction. So I would have taken my Fibonacci tool, measure from the high to the low of that bearish candle, and I'm going to look for at least a 50% to 618 fib retracement. Okay. One thing that I know is that when we look to the left for clues, this area was a very strong reversal area, and it's all in area. You see that? So I know that price could come within this area and could make a move. Here's a daily area where price held as support, pushed higher. So now I expect that if this is the 50% to 618 fib level, that I'm going to look for some type of rejection off of this level, and we definitely got that. So what I would have done is waited for price to get to this area. I would have drilled down to the lower time frame, and then I would have looked for some type of bearish confirmation. Okay, so you're always going to wait very patiently. So this is my resistance. I would have waited for price to reach this resistance area, and I would have looked for my opportunity to short. Now, where do you take profit? Remember, when you're scalping, you're not going for very drastic moves like 50 pips, 100 pips. You're looking to really capture off of that small movement with volatility. So you're going for anywhere from about, I would say, 10 pips to even 15 pips or so off of one move. Maybe you might get in on a retest and you might get in again. Everybody's different. So whatever your style is and whatever works for you, I'm all with it. But you're typically looking to really gain off of those small movements. You're not looking to be in a trade for a very long time. Okay. Now, because of that, most scalpers, they risk a lot of their account, or they risk a certain amount, but they use really large lot sizes because they're looking to make a lot of money within a short amount of time. What I found is best, and what's going to help you trade stress-free, is limiting. This is tip number 3. You want to risk no more than 1 to 2% of your total account balance. So if you have a $5,000 account, for example, you want to risk 2% of that. Okay. You want to risk 2% of that. This is what this will look like. Let's say if you did, when you do this, now this is my approach. I like to spread out my stop loss and lower my lot size. So if I, for example, was going to do let's say a 15 pip stop loss, and if I wanted to risk 2% of a $5,000 account, my max drawdown would be $100, and my total lot size that I could use would be $7. Okay, $7. However, I'm not going to take that $7, and let's say, for example, if we go to CHFJPY, we sell from this area here. Let's say I got in at 144.48, but the price pushed all the way up to 144.80. Okay, so that would be almost 20 pips in a stop that I'm risking. And if I were to do that, I would have to close that position a lot faster. I would have to do a very small stop. But what you're going to find with scalping is that you're not always going to get the best entry. The price pushes. And if we know this is a reversal area, the main thing we want to do is set an advantage. We want to set an advantage so that if we are wrong, how can we still come out of this trade profitable? So the risk management method that we teach our students through our academy works amazing. We've been using it for years. I was able to take scalping and produce a full-time income with this. I do more swing trading as well now, but scalping is really hard. It's a lot of hard work, but once you know what you're doing, you can do really well. But it does take precision. You have to be able to act and think very clearly and quickly, and you can't be afraid to execute the trade. And that only comes from practice and journaling and really knowing how your system works. So those are my 3 tips for you. Just again, to wrap it all up. Number 1, you always want to prepare in advance. So make sure you check your economic calendar, know what high impact news is ahead of you, always know what the market direction is. Number 2, you want to trade with the daily trend. Find your trend on the daily, mark your levels, and then on the lower time frame, you're going to wait for the price to get there. Now, keep in mind, if you're trading from the 15-minute, for example, oftentimes you will see that if you have a downtrend on the daily, you might have an uptrend on the 15-minute, and that is totally normal. But if you're trading with that daily trend, it is safe. Ideally, what you'd like to see is if you have a downtrend on the daily, you also have a downtrend on the 1 hour if you're trading within that hour. So more training on that to come. There's lots of stuff on our channel with scalping, but That is tip number two. And tip number three, you want to risk no more than 1 to 2% of your total account balance. Okay. So that's going to look a little bit different for everyone in terms of how you execute. Our students do exactly what I do when it comes to scalping, because it has worked very successfully for me. And what they do is they take the techniques that we teach and they make it fit for them. They practice and they journal. We give them feedback and guidance and get them on their way to where they understand what they're doing. And that is the same thing you want to do for yourself. So keep practicing, study that journal, make tweaks here and there where you need to, and then you're going to find yourself well on your way. Guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button. Let me know in the comments section how this video helped you or what you liked most about it. And I look forward to providing more instruction on helping you become a better scalper. I will see you guys in the next training video. Thanks for watching.